Human rights activists and intellectuals came together at a book launch in Dharamsala, India to speak up about the Chinese regime's attempt to dilute and eventually eradicate traditional Tibetan culture. The book, titled Imposing Modernity with Chinese Characteristics, The Fate of Tibetan Civilization, is partly based on interviews with recent Tibetan refugees.
Human rights activists and intellectuals spoke up against the Chinese regime's alleged attempts to eradicate Tibetan culture at a book launch on Saturday. The new book, titled Imposing Modernity with Chinese Characteristics, The Fate of Tibetan Civilization, was released at the Tibetan Centre for Human Rights and Democracy in India's northern city of Dharamsala on Saturday. Human Rights Law Network representative and a co-author, Anant Asthana, explains the aim of the book.
This book is making attempt to examine the charges of committing cultural genocide in Tibet on People's Republic of China. So this book is a kind of fresh attempt to look into the latest realities and to see whether whatever is happening in Tibet, whether it amounts to cultural genocide or not.
The book details the Chinese regime's policies towards Tibet and how they affect Tibetan language and customs.
The cultural genocide taking place in Tibet, the Chinese government's policy, the systematic policy of eliminating the Tibetan culture, identity, language, that kind of thing is taking place inside Tibet. So we have brought out in this report that how the Tibetan identity, culture, these are eliminating inside Tibet.
Based on interviews with recent Tibetan refugees, the authors explain the strong opposition the refugees have against the Chinese regime's policies and why they did not stay in China. Chinese authorities have ruled Tibet since 1950. In 1959, about 80,000 Tibetans sought refuge in India with their spiritual leader, the Dalai Lama, after a failed revolt against Chinese communist rule.